we're so, there we go. We're so lucky to have you that I just wanted to make sure that we'll be recording you. And I will give you the floor.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you all again for welcoming me into this space, virtual or not. It's great to be together. We are all called to something. For some, this calling might be one a vocation, such as a new job opportunity, and for others, it might be to come out of the closet as they embrace their true and authentic identities as a member of the LGBTQ community. Still, for others, they might feel called towards a faith that is encouraging of them to seek the truth of a religious community. Whether you are called out to join the LGBTQ community, to a new vocation, to a new religious community, whatever it is, celebrate that calling as we explore what it means for me to be called out of the closet towards faith. From a very young age, around 6 or so, I knew that there was something unique about me, but I couldn't quite place my finger on it. And I didn't quite know what it was. But I knew that while other boys my age were into cars, trucks, play fighting, and all things dirt, I much preferred music, the arts, theater, quiet reflection, playing with dolls and Barbies. As I got a little bit older, and my friends started talking about all the girls in our class who they thought were pretty, I realized that I didn't. And I was having the same thoughts that they were, but about them. I didn't yet know what it meant to be gay, or even what the LGBTQ community was. And so I thought something was wrong with me. When I was 10 years old, I learned what being gay meant. And it all made sense. All of the thoughts that I had had in my life leading up to that point made sense. I knew then that I was gay. And 2 years later, at the age of 12, I came out. And I was bullied for several years afterwards. Like many, I turned to religion to help, only to find that I was not welcomed, that I was the gay outcast of Christianity, that I was not the child of God the church wanted me to be. I learned quickly that being a member of the church meant hiding a part of who I was and acting like something I simply was not. I felt unimportant, alone, unwanted, and unloved by the very faith that had once provided comfort and showered me in love. I stopped going to church altogether. I hated religion and spirituality. I wanted absolutely nothing to do with it and resented people for being religious and spiritual. But in time, I started to explore new spiritualities, not of my Christian, Presbyterian, Southern upbringing. And I began to see that faith traditions did accept me, that religion and spirituality could be a place that I might belong again. I quickly became a very spiritual person, finding truth in many religious traditions, in spiritual practices, in meditative practices, and in nature. I was beginning to gain a better understanding of who I was and how I fit into the bigger picture. I knew that with or without a church, that I was loved, and that being gay was no reason for me not to claim spirituality. As the years went on and I learned more about myself, who I was, and what I believed, and what was at my core, what my values were, a glowing ember of hope began to glow inside of me. After years of not attending church, I woke up one morning, the morning of January 1st, 2017, and stepped foot into a church again for the first time in a long time. That church was a Unitarian Universalist church in Knoxville, Tennessee, the Tennessee Valley UU Church. On my first Sunday in this space, I found myself crying, not the tears of my past, not the tears of hurt and of pain, but tears of joy and of healing. I knew that I had found what I had been missing all of those years. I was asking myself, what would my life have been like if I had grown up in this space? I knew that here I would be welcomed for who I was, and that I would not need to hide the fact that I was gay from my religious and spiritual community, but that instead it would be celebrated and lifted up in love and joy, as would all of the other things that I was used to people having to hide from their faith or spiritual communities. I was so moved by this great place, by this faith, by this movement, that I joined that church a little over a month after stepping foot in it for the first time. And I found myself speaking before the congregation weeks after that. Rapidly, that little growing ember of hope inside of me turned into a small flame. And over time, that flame became bigger and bigger and bigger until I could no longer ignore its presence or its calling to me. I could no longer ignore the countless voices, both in my head and people all around me, that kept asking the same burning question, one that to this day still echoes in my mind, a question that at the time I had no answer to. And honestly, I have one, but it's not complete yet. That question that burns an echo in my mind, that made a glowing ember of hope turn into a raging fire, was this: have you ever considered seminary? As I said, this question echoes in my mind. Have I ever considered seminary? Have I ever considered seminary? Have I ever considered seminary? Why on earth would I, a person of queer identity, a person with mixed race identity, a person so hurt, so traumatized by religion, ever consider seminary, ever consider subjecting myself to such a grueling process, to faith leadership? Yet, here we are, and I have a bachelor's degree in religious studies and am a few months away from starting seminary. And so you see, that question, have I ever considered seminary, is a reality and a question of which I am called to answer yes. I am called to answer yes to this question since discovering the Unitarian Universalist faith, since growing spiritually, since learning more about what it means to be a member of the beloved community, and learning that I can bring my real, my authentic, my hurting, and most vulnerable self with me every day of my life, and that there is a place for me in beloved community, that there is a place for me in spirituality and in religion. And so after thought, meditation, and prayer, a fire is roaring inside of me. And I am called to answer yes. This calling started when I discovered Unitarian Universalism. It continued when I was one class away from finishing an associate's degree in media production, and never turned in the final project. I didn't turn in the final project because I had answered a call to ministry. Instead, I changed my major. I transferred universities. I moved 200 miles away from where I grew up. And I embarked in a journey of religious studies coursework. In this coursework, I came to have a greater understanding of the world around me and of my relationship to it, both as an individual and as a member of society. I began not to only ask questions, but to ask questions around the very nature of religion, of how it operated, how it functions or does not function, and if it even functions at all. I came to have a greater understanding of religion, not one as a binary system of beliefs that all members of a community must follow and subscribe to, but merely as a guideline or as a means in which some individuals choose to observe how they see themselves in relation with one another, with nature, and to themselves. I have come to see religion and spiritual movements as a means to push boundaries to the point where they almost break, but not entirely, not all at once. Well, you're able to put a crack in the fabric that grows larger and larger until all are seen and welcomed. We'll all know that they are loved and embraced. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Going into religious studies, I was looking for something different, though I was not prepared for what I found. I knew that going into religious studies, that I wanted to understand the world around me more as I prepared for seminary, as I prepared for a lifelong calling of faith leadership and of ministry. What I was not prepared for was how the study of religion would change my worldview over and over and over again. I still question everything, from the existence of a divine presence to systems of worship, rites, and rituals, to systems of historical oppression that religious individuals who exist on the margins of their identities experience in faith daily. Why would I choose to study in a religious discipline, paying an institution to explore that in which caused me pain in my past? Why would I subject myself to an academic discipline that would challenge my worldview, that would challenge my religious beliefs over and over again? Why do I even want to be a religious leader for Unitarian Universalism in the first place? All of these questions and so many more are what I am beginning to piece together, what I am beginning to explore and trying to answer as one chapter in my life is coming to a close and the next begins. In the words of author Ralph Moulton Jr., just because the road ahead is long is no reason to slow down. Just because there is so much work to be done is not a reason to get discouraged. It is merely a reason to get started, to grow, to find new ways, to reach so deep within yourself that you discover strength, commitment, determination, and discipline. And so ends his words. I know the road ahead of me is long. I know that the journey before me will be a challenge. But my life has been a challenge. Growing up queer in the southern part of Tennessee was a challenge. Being a BIPOC person in America has been a challenge. So I am prepared for a challenge. I am prepared for exciting and new possibilities and the opportunities that still lie ahead of me. I am ready for incredible, unique opportunities, for an incredible and unique spiritual journey of self-discovery, of love, of healing, and of resilience. I am called out of the closet towards faith, towards ministry. But what about you? Where are you called? We are all called to something. We are all called for something. The question is, what is that calling? What will that calling be? And will we answer it? Whatever your calling may be, my wish for you, my prayer for you is that you have the strength, the love, the support, and the community around you so that you may answer that calling. Yes, of course, I am ready. I am here for my calling in this moment. So, beloveds, may you be able to answer your calling. May you encourage others and support others in their calling. There is work to be done, that is for sure. But first, take a deep breath if it feels right in your body. Look around, look deep within. To what are you called? May it be so. Blessed be Ashe and Amen.
You with the sad eyes, don't be discouraged. Oh, I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all, and the darkness inside you makes you feel so small.
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into into a weapon or a drug. You could be the outcast or be the backlash of somebody's lack of love. But I wonder what could happen.